have a lot of time, he said. Police wanted to talk to him, Brian Wells, about a bank robbery that he had pulled off, but he told them that he had been set up and that the bomb he was wearing would go off.
Brian Wells, a normal hard-working pizza delivery driver, became involved in a notorious incident known as the Pizza Bomber case. In August 2003, he walked into a bank in Erie, Pennsylvania, with a bomb strapped to his neck and a note demanding money. He also had a homemade shotgun disguised as a cane. Wells claimed that he had been forced into the situation by unknown individuals who had attached the bomb to him. He robbed the bank and left with a substantial amount of money. After he was apprehended by the police shortly after the robbery, he told them about the bomb around his neck and the threats made against him. Tragically, before the bomb squad could arrive, the bomb detonated, killing Brian Wells. What followed was an intriguing police investigation, including a body in a freezer and an evil genius. Welcome to Insight Wave, the channel that delves into both solved and unsolved cases from around the world. If you haven't already, please take a moment to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest crime stories delivered straight to your inbox. The Pizza Bomber case is a tale of many interesting and intriguing characters all coming together to create one crazy and captivating story. The first person we meet that plays a part in the Pizza Bomber case is Brian Wells. He was born on November 15, 1956, and was 46 at the time when all of this took place. He was living in Erie, Pennsylvania, at the time. Growing up, Brian was not particularly into school and ended up dropping out quite early. Despite his lack of formal education, he compensated with a hands-on approach to life, dedicating over 3 decades to his job at the pizza shop. Known for his affable demeanor, Brian had a wide circle of friends who appreciated his friendly and outgoing personality. His love for movies, concerts, and various events showcased his vibrant and enthusiastic character. Beyond his social interests, Brian harbored a passion for scavenger hunting, adding an adventurous and playful aspect to his personality. However, his childlike naivety became both a defining trait and a potential vulnerability. His trusting nature made him susceptible to manipulation, a quality that would later play a significant role in the unfolding events of the Pizza Bomber case. That day, Brian went to work as he had for the past 30 years. Around 1:30 p.m., Mamma Mia Pizza received a phone call requesting the delivery of 2 pizzas to 8631 Peach Street, a location only a few miles away from the pizzeria. Initially, the owner of the pizzeria took the call but struggled to understand the person on the line. Consequently, he handed the call off to Brian, who then took the order and noted the customer's address. Interestingly, the provided address turned out to be that of a television station, WSEE-TV, though not their main building. Instead, the address led to their transmission station situated at the bottom of a dirt road, an unusual place for a pizza delivery. Mamma Mia Pizza prepared the order, and Brian was dispatched to make the delivery. It was later discovered that the phone call had originated from a pay phone at a gas station not far from the delivery site. However, at 2:24 p.m., the story took a dramatic turn, making headlines around the world. The seemingly routine pizza delivery was about to unravel into a series of mysterious and shocking events that would capture the attention of people around the world. At this time, Brian was seen walking into a PNC bank. He was wearing a white Guess t-shirt. Underneath his shirt, right below his neck, there was a strange, large bulge. You could not quite see what was under it, but it appeared that the Guess shirt was deliberate, inviting speculation about what lay beneath. He also had a short cane that he was carrying with him. And once he got to the teller, he handed her a note that said, "Gather employees with access codes to the vault and work fast to fill the bag with $250,000. You only have 15 minutes. Brian then lifted up his shirt to reveal what the bulge was around his neck. It was actually a bomb. How did Brian go from delivering 2 pizzas to Peach Street to robbing a PNC bank? After handing this note to the teller, Brian makes the teller nervous. However, they inform him that there is no way to open the vault in time to meet his time constraints. "So all I can give you is what I have on hand," the teller says, and that amounts to $8,702. Brian takes the money, and as he leaves, he grabs a lollipop, acting as if everything is fine. He gets in his car and takes off. Soon after, the police receive a description and quickly spot Brian outside, arresting him. He is found standing in a nearby empty parking lot. They put him on the ground or sit him down while they try to figure out what is going on. The police attempt to extract information from him and understand the situation. Brian explains that he was forced to wear a neck collar by a group of black men who told him he had to rob the bank, claiming he had no choice. As they examine the device closely, they realize it is not a joke or a prank, it is a real and serious device.
"I don't have a lot of time," he said. Police wanted to talk to him, Brian Wells, about a bank robbery that he had pulled off, but he told them that he had been set up and that the bomb he was wearing would go off.
The police were behind their cars, and they called the bomb squad. However, they arrived a little too late as the device started ticking and beeping. Brian began to scoot back, as if attempting to escape. People around him said it looked like he had just realized that it was a real device. It wasn't long before it actually exploded, tearing a 5-inch gash in his chest and resulting in his death. It didn't take long for him to pass away. The bomb squad showed up 2 minutes later, but, unfortunately, it was too late. And now that the bomb has actually gone off, the police are questioning what happened. Brian surely would not do this to himself, so who is the mastermind behind this, and who forced him to do this? Inside Brian's car, they found a strange 2-foot-long cane, which turned out to be a DIY-crafted handmade gun. The device around his neck was also handmade, resembling a large handcuff that clamped into place. Even though it was handmade, investigators could tell that it was crafted using professional tools. They delved deeper into the investigation, trying to understand what Brian was doing leading up to all of this. That's when they discovered some intriguing notes in Brian's car. The note instructed him to steal $250,000 from the bank, a seemingly small task, but it also laid out a complex set of instructions for Brian to follow around town in order to free himself from the bomb. The notes included keys, combinations, and detailed instructions for a scavenger hunt-like ordeal. One of the notes emphasized that the only way to survive was to cooperate completely and warned that the powerful booby-trap bomb could only be removed by following their instructions. Act now, think later, or you will die. The investigation led them to the scene where Brian claimed the device was put on him, at the edge of a wooded area. They discovered tire impressions and confirmed that Brian's car was indeed at the site. Mark suggested a struggle, indicating that he had fought someone or tried to resist them from putting the device on him. Shoe prints matched a specific brand of shoes, as mentioned in the first note. The notes provided detailed instructions, such as exiting the bank with the money and going to a McDonald's restaurant. The next steps involved finding a rock with a note taped to the bottom in the flower bed by the drive-through sign, containing further instructions. Brian never reached this step, but the subsequent clue would have directed him to drive 2 miles south to another wooded area marked by a road sign, where he would discover the next set of instructions. However, when the police reached the designated area, they discovered an empty jar. It appeared that someone, possibly Governor Hunt, had already removed critical evidence or the remaining clues before law enforcement could unravel the rest of the plan. The situation becomes even more perplexing a couple of days later on August 31st. One of Brian's co-workers and a close friend of Bob Panetti was found dead in his home. This development holds significant importance in the overall investigation, as many pieces start falling into place. Bob was supposed to be interviewed by the police about the unfolding events but met his demise the evening before the scheduled meeting on a Monday morning. This raised suspicions, given the apparent timing of the death. Despite having a history of drug problems, The authorities labeled it as an accidental drug overdose without complete certainty. 3 weeks after Brian Wells had passed away, the police received a call from a man named Bill Rothstein, a name of significant importance in this case. He called to report a dead body in the freezer at 8645 Peach Street. During the call, he identified the woman who placed the body there as Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong. Marjorie is a complex individual, challenging to describe accurately. It turns out that Bill was not only a neighbor of Marjorie's but also had a history of dating her back in the 60s and 70s. Bill told investigators that he was storing a body for Marjorie as a favor. She had called him one day, confessing to murdering her ex, Jim Roden. Upon her request, Bill agreed to hide the body in his freezer. However, Bill's involvement took an unexpected turn when he decided to call the police and inform them about the situation. He had initially agreed to assist Marjorie until she mentioned using a meat grinder to dispose of the body, at which point he found it too extreme and decided to report his own involvement to the police. When the police arrived at the house, they were met with an extremely unpleasant scene. The house was described as dirty and filled with random items and trash scattered everywhere. The smell was nauseating, exacerbated by the discovery of the body.
Ready to go, or no? Are you still writing? Okay, this stuff. Each 189. If you both take notes, then you got them for sure. Nobody brought a tape recorder along? There may have been in some, she had like a, almost like a corduroy type bottom to some of the carpeting. And I don't know if that was blood on there or not, but I just wiped it all. And some of it I took out anyhow.
Okay. Bill, let me ask you a quick question.
Yes.
These dresser drawers that are in this closet? Why?
To get rid of any evidence of blood, because she thought that gets rid of evidence of blood.
Okay.
That
Where was it? Where's I can't see from there.
Or alongside.
right around here.
The stove.
The area. Okay. This was over there, and there's also a thing that goes underneath it.
Okay.
I put that in here because I wanted to get it out of there so I could do stuff.
Okay, did you put the light bulbs in it?
No, those were in it. I don't
Those
know.
were in it, okay.
I can't remember what the story was in those. Go ahead. For your information, right where this man is standing, does everybody know your name or no?
We're gonna say it.
Okay. What? Okay, where Mr. Holmes is standing, this is where I cut up the rifle, the metal portion of the rifle. I described the container that I had underneath it. I brought in a acetylene torch in here, and I used the acetylene torch here to cut it up completely and reduce it to slag. So it wasn't really cut up, it was more like melted. Where did that go? Around the county. On the streets, on the roads. It looks a lot like gravel. It's easy to throw it out in little pieces. Okay.
What about the wing stock?
The stock was cut up with my saw and basically burned up in a pressure cooker, the bottom of half of a pressure cooker, and until it was charcoal and stuff and smashed down. It was all, soft, real soft charcoal.
Where did that occur?
When?
Where?
Where? In the back vestibule there, on the breezeway, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Nothing else here? Now this is about it for here. I told you about the sneakers. Okay, that's really the only thing that's in. Now I don't know what Marge did while she was here. I have no idea. Did anybody here come when she was here? No? Who were the guys that came?
I did. I was one of
Are you okay? Were there any lights on?
No.
Then she probably didn't do anything at all.
Are there any weapons in the house? Any guns?
Only knives. No, that's what when I called, I told you guys I said I have a gun.
Because we
That's
see
the
some
only
gun cleaning.
Yeah, that's for my gun. That's the gun that you guys got.
Okay.
Mr. Morgan took it out of my truck.
We do have that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Or you did have.
No, we do.
Okay.
All right.
After this, Bill Rothstein got taken to the police station for an interview.
We're conducting an investigation along with the state police in regards to telephone conversation you had the night before. Saturday night,
first.
In which you initiated calls to the state police. Could you explain what that was all about?
Okay, that was basically, there was a person I had known since the late 60s or early 70s, used to date. She had a body in her house that she wanted removed. I helped her with it. I put it basically in my garage. Excuse me. At that Saturday, she wanted it completely destroyed.
Okay, the woman being
Marjorie Armstrong, or Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong. Marjorie Diehl's her maiden name. Marjorie Armstrong was her married name.
okay. And that's why you called the state police.
I would call the state police because I did not want anything to do with that, and I was also fearful of what would happen to me should she find that out, or should I refuse.
How did you hear from Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong about a problem she had and concerning this deceased person?
Okay. As I said before, I'm not exactly sure on the timing of the thing. She may have called me the day of or the day after or maybe 2 days after. I'm not really sure. I didn't answer the phone. I think she said something like she had a problem, or this is what she always says, that she has a problem. And so I did not talk to her. I don't think I talked to her until she finally came over to the house.
So she called you, and maybe a day or two later
She might have called a couple times even. I don't know. She might have called even 3 times. And then after that, sometime within 1 to 3 days, no, I think she told me before that she called me the night or the morning that it happened, but I'm not really sure. I don't recall.
She mentioned a dead person on the messages.
Not on the first one, and probably not on the rest. I think when I found out about that there was a dead person there was when she came over to my house. And at that time, she said that Jim, or somehow she indicated that Jim was dead at her house.
Well, how did she indicate she was dead? He was dead.
I mean, she told me, but I don't know the exact words that she said, okay? And I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of like in disbelief, like, I can't believe this stuff.
Subsequently, after this interview, Marjorie was arrested. She claimed that Bill was attempting to shift the blame onto her and insisted that he was the one responsible. Marjorie vehemently denied any involvement in the crime. The investigation proceeded, and it took 4 days for the body to defrost, allowing forensic tests to be conducted. The results revealed that Jim had, indeed, been shot with a shotgun in the head before being placed in the freezer. Let's delve into Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong's background. Despite being highly intelligent, she graduated at the top of her class with a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's in education. Marjorie struggled with mental illness. She openly acknowledged her condition, often boasting about it to gain attention. From a young age, at 23, she expressed her concerns about her mental well-being to a therapist, citing difficulties in forming close relationships and grappling with crippling anxiety. Over the years, mental health professionals diagnosed her with various conditions, including bipolar disorder, mania, pressured speech, narcissism, and severe personality disorder. Marjorie's life was marked by challenges. She faced difficulties in maintaining employment and relationships, and her everyday life was a constant struggle. Marjorie's marital history includes a brief marriage, during which her husband's death raised suspicions. He died from a fall, hitting his head on a coffee table, leading Marjorie to sue the hospital for negligence. Known for her intelligence and manipulative nature, she exhibited eccentric behavior, such as requesting to keep one of her deceased husband's bones, intending to clone him someday. Marjorie's romantic relationships were marred by unusual circumstances, with 5 men in her life meeting untimely deaths. For instance, one of her boyfriends committed suicide shortly after she moved out. In 1984, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong faced legal trouble when she was arrested for the killing of her boyfriend, Robert Thomas. However, during the court proceedings, she was acquitted on grounds of self-defense. In the face of her latest arrest related to the discovery of Jim Roden's body, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong vehemently maintained her innocence. Despite the location of the house on Peach Street, which raised suspicions, Marjorie insisted that she had no involvement in the crime. Instead, she shifted blame onto Bill Rothstein, claiming that she could only be implicated if he was involved. To ascertain Bill's potential involvement, he was subjected to a polygraph test, which he successfully passed. However, during the investigation, Bill withheld information about his former roommate, Floyd Stockton, who conveniently moved out on the same day as the PNC Bank robbery. Floyd was also subjected to a polygraph test, and both he and Bill were cleared of any direct involvement in the bank robbery. The complexities surrounding Marjorie's life, her multiple legal issues, and the intricate relationships with those around her added layers of intrigue to the ongoing investigations. In January 2004, approximately 5 months after the death of Jim Roden, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong found herself facing murder charges. During the proceedings, Bill Rothstein testified that the motive behind Marjorie's actions was their ongoing financial disputes. Despite Marjorie's claims of innocence, the judge ordered her to stand trial. Bill Rothstein, on the other hand, did not escape legal consequences entirely. Although he had cooperated extensively with the police and exhibited good behavior, he still faced charges, including abuse of a corpse. As a result, he was sentenced to spend a few years in prison. However, in an unexpected turn of events, Bill Rothstein, who had been a valuable source of information for investigators, checked himself into Mill Creek Community Hospital in July. Unfortunately, he succumbed to Hodgkin's lymphoma just 7 days later. The loss of Bill Rothstein posed a significant setback for the investigators, as they had relied on his cooperation to unravel the complex web of criminal activities. Meanwhile, Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong, after being sentenced to a 7-year minimum term with optional parole for good behavior, was slated to receive mental health treatment in a mental institution following her release. While Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong was in jail, she attempted to negotiate with the police by writing a letter addressed to whom it may concern. Known for her manipulative nature, Marjorie was always engaging in various dealings and negotiations. In this letter, she offered information about a different cold case unrelated to the bank robbery. The case involved a man named Ken Barnes, an old fishing buddy. In an attempt to strike a deal with the police, Marjorie provided details about this case. However, her efforts did not yield the desired results, as authorities were hesitant to engage in negotiations with a criminal. Consequently, nothing substantial emerged from her initial bargaining attempt. Undeterred, Marjorie shifted her strategy and claimed to possess information about various crimes, including details about the pizza bomber case. She asserted that she had evidence proving Bill Rothstein's involvement in that particular criminal act. Despite her claims, the authorities remained cautious and skeptical about her reliability. As the FBI delved further into Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong's involvement, they discovered a significant letter among her personal belongings. This letter, addressed to the bank, conveyed Marjorie's deep-seated anger and resentment. The roots of this animosity traced back to her strained relationship with her father. Before the events surrounding the bank robbery unfolded, Marjorie had a safety deposit box with PNC Bank containing personal items. PNC Bank allowed her father access to this box, a decision that Marjorie vehemently contested, as she believed he shouldn't have had access. This perceived injustice fueled her anger towards the bank. In a complex web of connections, Marjorie managed to secure her transfer to Cambridge Springs by divulging more details and secrets. Concurrently, during the bank robbery, Bill had his blue van towed away from his property. It only returned after he had been cleared by the FBI. This detail added to Marjorie's efforts to convince the police of Bill's involvement. Upon scrutinizing old footage of Bill's house and garage, investigators observed a diagram on his desk. This diagram featured a hand-drawn arrow strikingly similar to the arrow depicted in the instructions related to the bomb used in the robbery. The investigation took a pivotal turn when authorities examined Bill Rothstein's handwriting. Through meticulous analysis, they successfully matched his handwriting to some of the notes from the scavenger hunt. Bill, known for his proficiency in various skills including building, emerged as the key figure behind the construction of the explosive device and the formulation of the clues. Regrettably, the breakthroughs in connecting Bill to the crime occurred after his passing, leaving investigators with a profound sense of frustration. Despite his posthumous identification as the mastermind, the challenge remained in fully unraveling the intricacies of the plot and understanding the extent of each individual's involvement. Subsequently, during the summer of 2005, a significant tip emerged. Professor Sedgwick stepped forward, asserting that while driving south on I-79, not far from the location of Brian Wells' demise, he observed a gold car swiftly approaching him along the barrier. According to him, the person behind the wheel, making direct eye contact, was Marjorie. Despite acknowledging her presence on the highway that day, Marjorie vehemently denied any involvement in the robbery, emphasizing the lack of concrete evidence. However, a short time later, female inmates from the jail asserted that Marjorie had discussed plans for the heist while incarcerated. A prison inmate documented Marjorie Diehl-Armstrong's statements, suggesting that Bill Rothstein constructed the neck bomb, and everyone collaborated on it. The inmate also mentioned Floyd Stockton, raising questions about how Marjorie knew him. Marjorie hinted at Brian Wells' involvement, claiming they measured his neck for the collar, implying a connection. The focus turned to Ken Barnes, Marjorie's fishing buddy, known as Cocaine Ken. Interviews revealed links between Ken, Brian, and a woman named Jessica Hoop. A search warrant at Ken's squalid house, while revealing no direct evidence, heightened suspicions due to electronics and building-related magazines. Under pressure, Ken admitted that Marjorie solicited him for the bank heist, intending to use stolen money to hire him for a sinister task, killing her father. Ken's confession, on December 9, 2005, portrayed Marjorie as the mastermind behind the bank robbery plan. Despite intricate details, the investigation raised questions about Brian's role, suggesting coercion. A pre-robbery meeting at Bill Rothstein's house involved key players like Marjorie, Floyd Stockton, Ken Barnes, and Brian Wells. Ken, assigned as a lookout, revealed the plan's initiation at a Shell station, ordering a pizza to kick off events. Allegedly, when Brian realized the device's true nature, he attempted to escape, resulting in scuff marks from a struggle. Marjorie instructed him to blame a fictional group if caught. Observers, including some with binoculars, monitored the plan from across the street. Floyd Stockton, Bill Rothstein's roommate, surfaced later. Striking a deal to testify, Floyd confessed on March 27, 2007, describing how Rothstein ordered him to attach the device to Brian's neck. Floyd's account portrayed Bill and Marjorie as the central figures. Charges were finally pressed on July 9, 2007, against Marjorie for the PNC bank robbery, along with Ken Barnes and others. The investigation concluded that Brian Wells had some involvement, possibly forced, but no one faced charges for his murder. Marjorie rejected a plea deal, aiming to prove mental incompetence. On October 15, 2010, 7 years post-robbery, she stood trial and received a life sentence, plus 30 years, before her death in 2017. Marjorie persistently claimed innocence, laying blame primarily on Bill Rothstein, emphasizing their escalating feud.